Hello, this is Lori Hammer with Take Back My Brain, and I thank you for watching. We're going to talk today about intermittent fasting and how that really is just basically changing your eating window. So your eating window may be 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. We'll talk about that today. But the goal is to get your specific eating window so that you have the most healing, the most autophagy, the most hormone sensitivity that you can possibly get. So what are we going to do? We're going to find our eating window and we're going to eat 2 meals within that eating window. Why do we want to do that? Because that's going to give us the most autophagy. So that will give us a 15 to 24 hour fast. That doesn't mean that you're starving. That just is your healing window. So when you are not eating, I want you to think of that as a healing window for your body, and that you're going to get the most autophagy going on. And if you've watched my other videos, you know that autophagy is like Pac-Man. You remember the little yellow guy in all of the games where it just goes around and eats up all the little dots and the ghosts and all the yucky stuff? So think of that as what's happening in your body in that healing window. You have autophagy going on, and so it's eating up the dead cells, the broken cells, the bad DNA. If you have growths in your body, it's going to eat up those, arthritis, etc., etc. Okay? So just think of that as Pac-Man going around your body when you intermittent fast. Very, very effective. Why is that important? Why is it effective? And why do we want this big scientific word of autophagy to happen? Well, it's going to increase our stem cells. When we have the byproduct energy of all those broken down yucky cells, that energy is used to create new, happy, healthy stem cells, which turn into adult cells, which helps us to regenerate, rejuvenate. Then we get to burn fat better. We want to go from sugar burners to fat burners because we don't want any excess fat, but we also don't want fat around our organs that aren't supposed to be there. And when we burn fat, we have cleaner energy, which does not cause inflammation in your body. And when that happens, we have an anti-aging effect going on. So you actually start to feel better and feel younger and look younger, which is pretty darn exciting. And I can attest to that. I feel better now than I did 2 years ago before I started intermittent fasting and ketosis. Perfect. Hormone optimization. That includes all your sex hormones. That includes your thyroid hormone, insulin, leptin, ghrelin, you name it. Any hormone you have, it's going to be more optimized when you intermittent fast. And then, of course, we want an increase in growth hormone, which goes right back up here to the anti-aging, because the more growth hormone we have, better anti-aging effects that go on our body. You're going to feel better, look younger, and be able to be more active with your kids, your grandkids, and just in general in life. But let's talk about one specific hormone that gets more sensitive as we do intermittent fasting, and that is going to be insulin. And on our cells, every single cell, you have all these wonderful receptor sites. And on these receptor sites, there's a receptor site to take in insulin. There's one for estrogen. There's one for leptin. There's one for magnesium, zinc, thyroid, etc., and etc. We can name them all off. But what happens is when we are not insulin sensitive, when we have a lot of inflammation in our body and our glucose numbers are way too high, we have an inflamed cell membrane. Everybody has a cell membrane. And when we don't feel well, when we're eating poorly, when we're eating too often, this membrane gets inflamed because of toxins and all sorts of other things. And so what happens when that cell membrane is inflamed, it affects the receptor site. And it basically puts a brick wall there and it can't get in. So it's like your insulin's coming and knocking and it can't get in the door. It can't, don't mind my dogs, it can't get to the inside of the cell, and that's where we need the insulin to go because we have all these organelles in here that need energy, that need to be fed. Okay? And so when we intermittent fast, we are actually reducing inflammation. Remember Pac-Man, we have autophagy going on. When autophagy goes on, inflammation goes down, hormone sensitivity goes up. So after a while, because these are cumulative effects, insulin will be able to get back into the cell again, because you're going to have a healthy cell with happy receptor sites, and insulin's going to go into that receptor cell, hit your mitochondria to make more ATP. And your body's going to regenerate and you're going to start feeling better. Okay, that's just with insulin, and that happens with all our hormones. But this is so important and why we are intermittent fasting. So how are we going to intermittent fast to get that hormone sensitivity? I would like to challenge you to all start with a 10-hour eating window. Okay? So if you normally get up at 7, maybe you could eat at 7, and then your last meal would be at 5. Okay, that would be a 10-hour eating window. Or you could eat at 8 and your last meal would be at 6, and I think you get the point. And so then you're going to have a 14-hour healing window or a fasting window. I like to think of it as a healing window because that's where the autophagy happens and the hormone optimization. And then once your body has adjusted to this 10-hour window, then you can move to an 8, a 6, and a 4-hour window. The idea behind this is every time we ingest food, it incites a glucose response in our body. So what we're doing is we're giving our body a break and giving it a longer healing window so it doesn't have to deal with glucose, which then it has to deal with insulin and cortisol and all these other hormones. So we're giving our body a break. So within this eating window, we're going to do 2 meals. That's what we want to get to. If you get to the 4-hour eating window, maybe you're not going to eat 2 meals, but you might eat continuously for a couple hours. That's kind of how I do it sometimes. But in these 2 meals, you can eat 1 meal within 90 minutes. Give yourself time. Give yourself a relaxation kind of period. Don't just shove it all in within 20 minutes thinking, oh, I got to get all this meal in within, 20 minutes. No, give yourself some time. You got up to 90 minutes. So you eat your first meal, at 10 o'clock, and then you're going to eat your next meal at 6 o'clock. You can do that, or however you want to do. It has to fit your life, which is a beautiful thing about intermittent fasting. Not all my days look the same, but they kind of follow the same pattern. And then when you're eating, you want to eat at least one of those meals until you are completely full. So that way your body doesn't think that it is starving. This is not a low-calorie diet. Obviously, if you're eating 1 less meal per day, you will be eating less calories, okay? But we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that low-calorie dieting does not work. Your body goes into starvation mode, and it says, whoa, I'm going to start holding on to everything that you put inside of me. And we don't want the body to do that. So that's why we have an eating window where we're not inciting glucose all day long, and then when we are eating, we're eating until full and not just eating tiny little amounts, because your body needs to know it is not starving. And in intermittent fasting, you're going to work from a 10-hour window down to a 4-hour window eventually. Do not start with a 4-hour window if you have never intermittent fasted before. Do not shock your body in that way. And if you want to know how to monitor your ketones and how you can know if it's a good window for you, go to my Facebook page, and I put a video on there today on how to measure your ketones and to find your perfect intermittent fasting window. Okay? Any questions? Post them below, and I will be happy to answer them. But it's all about doing diet variation, and we'll get more into that later. But right now, I want you to concentrate on intermittent fasting, shrinking that eating window, and expanding that healing window. Thank you for joining me. This is Lori with Take Back My Brain. Have a beautiful and healthy day.